In this video, I'm going to give you 25 tips and tricks if you are a beginner at Fortnite. Please don't roast me in the comments if these tips are too easy for you. So without further ado, let's hop straight to it. We are gonna be starting off with Dropspots. To get better at Fortnite and easily win a game, you need to know what loot is the best and how to get it without being contested. My main drop is Lavish Lair. Not many people come here and there's a lot of loot for even more than one player. And I personally prefer this drop because I memorized everything and I know how to get the best loot in the first 30 seconds after landing. If you haven't noticed already, the main drops everyone focuses on are Grim Gate and the Underworld. But if you pick a drop where almost no one goes, but there's enough loot, then you're good to go. Next tip is a simple one, but players forget to do, which is scouting. If you master scouting people, you'll see massive changes in your games, because you'll make a lot smarter decisions when it comes to rotating or even fighting an opponent. For example, if you're on Deadside and notice that there's nobody around except for one player, then you can choose to fight him without having to worry about getting third-partied. Third tip is to know which fights that you should participate in. What I mean by this is to not push every opponent you see, even if you did a little bit of damage to them. Sometimes avoiding certain fights is the way to go, cause if you fight every single person you see, eventually you're gonna get third-partied and either die or just go into an endgame shambles. So I always try to fight on edge of the zone or on Deadside. But if you did go into an endgame shambles and you're desperate for a refresh, then you need to jump in someone's box as quick as possible. Now, if you got a little confused on what I've just said in the last tip, don't worry, I'll explain what Deadside is and what I meant by fighting on edge. Deadside means that you're in a position of the zone where there are the least amount of players located. So for example, in this clip, players are mostly the other side of where I'm at. So I have this full left side to rotate for me. And what I meant by fighting on edge means that you are on the edge of the zone just above this white circle. So there is most likely no one around because everyone rotated in the center of a zone. You are probably curious by now on what the best loadouts are. So I'm gonna list different loadouts on how you wanna play the game. For example, in ranked, I carry an SMG, a shotgun, and a sniper with 2 heals. Reason I do this is that I am an aggressive player and I'm willing to give up my 3rd heal for a sniper in my loadout. But you can also do SMG, shotgun, and some kind of rotation. For example, the new thing. But I recommend carrying no less than 2 heals. You can also do 3 guns without the sniper, but in my opinion, it's useless and I would not recommend it. Okay, so I've already talked about choosing your fights correctly, but when should you actually approach a fight? Well, a health advantage plays a big role in this. If you are first to shoot an opponent without him knowing, and you do a decent amount of damage to him, that's when you should push him. So you are gonna be the attacker and he's either gonna box up or build up to high ground. If he does challenge you to a build fight though, here are some basic building moves that you can do to guarantee yourself a high ground. First up is a sprint ramp rush. If you and your opponent are both rushing up to height with ramps, then sneak in a little bit of sprint before placing every ramp, and you'll get there much faster, trust me. Second move is a 90. This is the fastest way to get a high ground, and all you do is place floors and ramps with walls while turning 90 degrees. Next up is the Thwifo Cone. Thwifo Cone is not as fast, but it's a good way to get up a layer while keeping yourself protected from the back and from the top. You build a ramp, place 2 walls and a cone on top. That's it. And the last one is high walls. To be honest, 90s are really good to get high ground, but they're not as protective. So you can change it up with high walls while keeping yourself protected in front of you and on top of you. Alright, I'm going to teach you what kind of materials you should use in the different scenarios. First thing you need to remember is a wood wall is 150 HP, a brick wall is 300 HP, and the metal wall is 500 HP. You should use wood when you're pushing players and when you're build fighting. Just remember to not build as high because wood is easily choppable since it's 150 HP. For the brick wall, I think the best way to use it is when boxing up or box fighting in general. It's also easily reformable and it's my personal favorite. And lastly, for the metal, you can do the same things with metal as with brick, but I use it to get height in endgame. So for example, if I'm already in the next zone, I always look at height to see if I can chop it out and replace it. If they are at the back of the zone, they need to worry about rotating. And if I'm able to chop, obviously I do it and I build in metal so the same thing doesn't happen to me. Next up is a simple one, but beginners usually don't have this enabled, so don't forget to do it. What I'm talking about here is the visual sound effects. If you don't know what this is, it's basically these little footsteps that appear on your screen when someone is near you. I think everybody should have this enabled because with headset, it's hard to hear people around you. The way you turn it on is by going into settings, click on this sound icon, and it should be right there for you to enable it if you haven't. Next up is kind of like a mental thing, and it's to not get nervous when you're in a health disadvantage. Do not box up instantly or run away because that's just showing him that you're scared. Instead, try to do some counter damage, and once you do that, then you can heal, cause he's probably going to box up too. And not only it gives you time, but you're playing with his head, cause every person your opponent he faced was probably scared of him, and it's surprising for him that you did not box up instantly. So my point is, try to not get nervous and don't show the weakness. You also need to practice your aim as well. My first tip is your sensitivity. I'm not the guy you should go for control advice, but I can give an advice on keyboard and mouse. Your sensitivity should depend on your mousepad length. If you have a short mousepad and not a lot of room to play with, then obviously higher up your sensitivity. But I can 100% say that lower sense helps you a lot more with aiming, since you have the space to track with. So if you have a long mousepad, I recommend that you lower your sense. And you're probably wondering how to find your perfect sensitivity. So I recommend you try what I'm about to say. If you can do a full 360 with sliding your mouse all the way to the end of your mousepad, then you're good to go. For me, I can do a full 360 and a little bit more. And if anyone's wondering what my sense is, I'll put it on the screen. Once you're comfortable with your sense, now it's time to actually practice your aim, which is boring, I know. But trust me, practice your aim for 15 to 30 minutes every day, and you'll see how much progress you make in just a few weeks. And if you want to know which maps to practice with, then I'ma tell you my personal favorite one, which is a Clix Aim Trainer Map. This map is really good for your AR aim, and it's filled with bots if you're practicing alone. Another simple but great tip is to VOD review. If you don't know what a VOD review is, it's basically when you look back at your games and see what you did wrong. So like a feedback to yourself. If you're wondering how you're gonna do that, then let me quickly explain for you. You can turn on something called replays, and every game you play, it records for you to check back on later. And it doesn't take that much space either. So if you're not lazy, then definitely try it out. And if your question right now is if I do it or not, then I'ma be honest, I don't. I usually spend all my time making content for you guys and mostly do tutorials like this for people that are trying to get better at Fortnite. You can also use this clip as a tip with the new dash thingies. My next tip is gonna be to set some light goals to yourself every match. There are many goals that you can accomplish, and you can also make it harder and harder as you improve more. For example, start off with trying to get a certain amount of kills. Once you do that, then try to get a decent placement. After you do that, maybe try to get a win or something. And you can make it harder and harder, like setting a goal to get a certain amount of rank. Or you can practice with training in general too. If you do an aim trainer drills for 15 minutes the first day, then the second day to 20 minutes and see how long you can keep up. Next tip is not enough itself in the game, but it's to keep up with the updates. What I mean by this is know what the current meta is and what items or guns are the most broken, so you can abuse it in your games and rank up from them. The next tip is to get really good with the new Gatekeeper Shotgun, cause it's the best one in the game right now. The only problem with it is that it only has 3 bullets, so you have to be careful. But if you find a Gatekeeper Shotgun with a drum mag attachment on it, it has 5 bullets and it shreds. And the last tip is to use code Lukicha in the Fortnite item shop.